Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. As you know, we have TNA featuring many matches. A no disqualification match featuring Wendy Chu and Rosemary, Tasha Steeles and Alicia taking on our newly crowned TNA Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich, and of course Jordan Grace. And of course, our main event features the X Division title. Mike Bailey defends the belt against Moose. So this is going to be an interesting match to review. And then we move on with Ring of Honor with various matches. But the main event features AR Fox versus, of course, Josh Woods. So we got plenty of matches we're going to be going to. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing much of the recent Mighty Gold events that took place. The first one took place, of course, in a two-show and one-day event on day 9 of the Fantastic Adventures in Sapporo. Nothing too significant, but some preliminary matches. However, we do have day 10 that we're going to review that took place on the 4th of November, but the main event features the Superfly Championship. Mitsa Natsumu once again will get another opportunity to obtain the Superfly belt, a belt that, of course, she couldn't win since it first launched. And then, of course, we kept up our episode with a very short news updates, of course, with what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, when matches set, and developments. However, as you all know, last time I talked about in our last episode, we did, of course, the Wednesday Night War. Well, the results are in about exactly and just like I predicted it. But we'll talk more about that a little later. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So if you're new in the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world. Pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can put it on the next episode or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have set aside, I believe it's time to rock and roll. So let's begin with, of course, day 9 of the fantastic adventure of Marigold, and this is the afternoon show. Marigold, we continue with more of the fantastic adventure tour. However, they did a 2-show, 1-day event, an afternoon show and an evening show. And both shows were at Sapporo. Now, I don't remember exactly where and what venue they were doing it, but that's basically the gist. However, let's begin with the event itself. Let's begin with the afternoon show on day 9. Now, as you all know, Chika Goto is currently out for a month due to being in injury, so she'll be okay. But however, I do appreciate her that she still decides to participate in the events, but in a non-wrestling role. I think this is her way of trying to stay close to the fans, because everybody likes her, they like her energy and all that. I think she's a very, very unique wrestler. But yeah. So anyway, our first match we have Naho Yamada taking on Komomo Minami. Now, I don't know how this one was play out because a part of me, the factors on this is this. Naho, in fact, as you all know, she's from At Risk Girls. Komomo, we know that she had limited wrestling. She was supposed to debut as, of course, Aya Sakura and Hanako back in March of 2023. But we all know what happened. She was injured and all that. But I wasn't too sure exactly where this is going to go. But unfortunately, this match ended in a time limit draw after 10 minutes. I'm sure it's frustrating for both of them, but sooner or later, when they get back at this, one of them has to pick up a win. Now, our next match is a bit of a three-way. We have Molly Grace versus Rhea Seto versus Nao Ishikawa. Now, of course, many of you would think in this match, Nao Ishikawa, who's been on a losing streak recently, would have been the one to. But however, it was Molly Grace who picked up the win with the corkscrew splash onto Rhea Seto. So basically, you can say Nao Ishikawa walked away with either a win or a loss. But not Mila Grace was the one who picked up the win, so that's how it led. Now our next match we have this is more of a prelim. We have Mitsa Matsui and Victoria Yuzuki. They take on Hummingbird and Natsumi Shozuki. Now remember, on day 10 I think it's day 10, I believe. No, on the night show we do see Matsui and of course Shozuki. They will both face each other for the Superfly belt, and we'll get to that when we review that one separately on this episode. But however, many of you would think, okay, someone has to build up the momentum, but unfortunately, that was not the case. This one ended with, of course, a time limit draw after 15 minutes. However, I don't know what they initially said on the post match promo, but we'll see when we get there. Next up, we have Bozilla teaming up with Nagisa Nozaki, taking on Kizuna Tanaka and Suri. Now, of course, many of you would think if Bozilla or Nagisa Nozaki pins Suri, it is a possibility that they would definitely challenge for the Crimson Belt, which is the Marigold World Championship, which is obviously what could have been the goal. However, that wasn't the case because Kizuna Tanaka ended up on the wrong side of the pile driver by Bozilla, giving her the win. So you can guess this right there. Now our next match, this one is definitely another prelim. We have Kyoki Amori, Utami Aishida, and our current white belt champion, Miku Ano. They take on Nanane Takahashi and our current tag champions, Mai Sakurai and Mirai. Now remember, Kyoki Amori and Utami Aishida teamed up recently to challenge for the tag belts. Ever since, of course, Shikagoto went on injury and she told Kyoki that she can do what she please for a month. Well, it looks like that's going to be the case. But however, you ask yourself, who's going to build up momentum before the time of the tag team title? That is something, it is obvious. But however, in the end, it was Kyoki Amori that did that when she pinned Sakurai. Just like that, it was over. So basically, Kyoki build up the momentum for her and Utami Ishida when the day comes. But we will see what happens, of course, on the evening show. So let's get to it right now. Okay, as we continue with more of day 9 of Marigold's fantastic adventure, this time we're doing the evening show in Sapporo. Now, we did talk about Chikagoto, of course, once again, does the same thing as we saw. As you all know, she's out on injury. Now, our match opened up with Nao Yamada taking on Victoria Yuzuki. So basically, you would think, okay, Victoria Yuzuki had this one in the bag. It kind of did because many people have often said she has a bright future in pro wrestling, not to mention she is building up a lot of momentum at a very young age. And of course, earlier in her career with the limited time that she had since she debuted in December of 2023 in Stardom. She picked up the win when she applied the rolling arrow, and just like that, it was over. Next up, we have Hummingbird taking on Komomo Minami. Now, of course, not a lot of information we know about Hummingbird. I have to say she's a very unique, different wrestler. Nothing compared like Starlight Kid, just to make it clear. I mean, it's interesting to see that, okay, we have Starlight Kid as the only masked wrestler in Stardom. Now we have Hummingbird. So that is a very interesting thing to hear. But it was Hummingbird who picked up the win with a, I don't know if it was exactly what I thought it was. It looked more like a frog splash, but it was effective to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we have tag team action. Myla Grace and Nao Ishikawa taking on Bozilla and Nagisa Nozaki. Now, of course, Bozilla is the common threat here in this entire match. A, because she's big and all that. That made kind of played out in every way. But, however, excuse me, Myla Grace was the one who ended up on the wrong side of that Lance Anou'i by Nagisa Nozaki picking up the win. So, just like that, it was over. Next up, we have Kizuna Tanaka and Kyoki Omori taking on our current tag champions, Masakura and Mirai. Now remember, Kyoki Omori is challenging for the tag belt with Utami Shida, even though she's not involved in this match. But of course, this match was definitely going to go in favor of the tag champions because they faced against Kizuna Tanaka before, even though she's a fantastic wrestler. But unfortunately, she ended up on the wrong side of the STF by Mai Sakurai, and just like that, it was over. Now, our next match, we have Nanane Takahashi and Utami Ayashida teaming up. They face off our current white belt champion and crimson champion, Miku Anu and of course Sari. Now remember, Nana Takahashi issued a challenge for the world championship on Sari. That sets it up. Now, of course, it's a prelim. Now, Utami Shida will have the opportunity of that belt at another time. She secured her spot when she won the Dream Star Grand Prix. So that led it up right there. So you would think that one of them will pick up the momentum in this one, but unfortunately it did not. It ended in a 15-minute time limit draw. So just like that, it was over. Now, our next match is the only championship match. It's the Superfly Championship. We do have, of course, Mitsa Matsui versus Natsumi Shozuki. Now, remember, when the Superfly Championship was announced and put up in a tournament, the last two who made it to the finals was, of course, Mitsa Matsui and Natsumi Shozuki. Now, Mitsa Matsui is still aiming for that belt. She was looking for another opportunity to have that chance. However, this was one of those chances. But the real question you ask yourself, has she learned her mistakes that she caused in this one? I mean, you would think that she might have developed some new skills in order not to repeat what happened last time. But unfortunately, her mistake is wasting a little more time when she tried to apply a moonsault that allowed, of course, Shozuki to apply a Meteora in order to retain the belt. But of course, Mitsumatsui cannot believe that she lost again. So basically, it's this the second time she lost to her in a singles match. But the obvious question we ask ourselves, will she ever obtain that belt, which is a belt that she has aimed for since it first began? Well, hopefully she does. She deserves it, to be honest with you. So we'll see what happens until then. And then, of course, she did a promo, and Miku Anu showed up. I don't know what was the deal, but we do know that those two have both Shozuki and Anu actually do have a bit of a close friendship. So we'll see what happens. But for now, we'll end things here with, of course, with day 9 and move on with day 10. So let's do that now. Day 10 of the Fantastic Adventure by MARIGOLD, and this time they're in Nagoya, not Sapporo, just to be sure, and this took place on the 4th of November. Uh, of course, there's nothing too significant, maybe just prelims until we get to some actual matches and down the line. Um, of course, once again, Chika Goto comes out, does her thing, and all that. As you know, she is out on injury for a month. I don't know how much time she has left, but we will see what we go. Now, first match we have now Naho Yamada versus Nao Ishikawa. Now, of course, some of you think that this would be one of those matches where Nao Ishikawa would lose. I mean, we saw that with someone who has a bit of lesser experience than her. But for some reason, it was Nao Ishikawa who picked up a win by applying a German suplex. This is her first single win. Not the biggest. I know she can pick up the big win. All she needs to do is figure out how to do that. So, I mean, a win's a win, but not the biggest or the best or the greatest. So we'll get to that at some point. Our next match, we have Komomo Minami taking on Misa Matsui after coming up short, losing to the Superfly Championship. However, you ask yourselves, well, Misa Matsui will try to hopefully one day get an opportunity. I know she will, but she was able to pick up a win against Komomo with the Falcon Arrow. Hopefully, she will get back another opportunity, but we just wait and see when that day comes. Next match, we have Mala Grace versus Nao Ishikawa. Now, of course, these two were in a tag team match recently on the evening show in Sapporo. I'm sure this was supposed to be more one of those matches where, of course, Mala Grace will definitely try to get an opportunity for some payback. But unfortunately, it did not go in her favor when Nozaki put her in a chokehold, and just like that, it was over. Next up, we have our young rookies and very sensational tag team, Kizuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki, taking on Hummingbird and Natsumi Shizuki. It's interesting to see those two because Hummingbird, as you know, challenged Shizuki for the Superfly title, but Shizuki retained it. However, they have to face against a team that has, of course, built up great momentum and cohesion as a tag team. But, however, you ask yourselves, can Hummingbird and Shizuki do the same thing? Well, I have to say they were able to do so because it took a few tries for Shizuki to apply a diving double knee drop on Kizuna Tanaka, but she was successful when she was able to apply it, giving herself a win. Our next match is a bit of a mixture of every opponent. We have Bozilla, Mai Sakurai, and Miku Anu. They take on Kyuki Omori, Mirai, and Utami Ayashida. Now remember, Mirai and Mai Sakurai are tag champions, so I don't think they will have a problem facing off each other. So there's a lot of things you would think, but however, in some cases you can tell there'll be momentum into their upcoming matches. Of course, in this one, it was Mai Sakurai who picked up the momentum when she did an elbow drop onto Kyuki Omori from the top corner buckle, and just like that, it was over. So pretty sure it ended pretty well for them. So we'll see what happens when the day of the tag match happens. But for now, we'll end things here with day 10. Move on with TNA. Okay. Sorry about the camera angle, guys. Anyway, now we got TNA, so let's begin. Our first match, we have a women's tag match. Tasha Steelz and Alicia taking on Jordan Grace and, of course, our newly crowned TNA Knockouts Women's Champion, Masha Slamovich. Now remember, this is something that happened right after. Now, Alicia Edwards called out last week Masha Slamovich, saying that she's just holding her belt. But the real question is, does she really believe that? Well, this match was set by none other than the Director of Authority, of course, Santino Marella. However, this match ended with, of course, an interesting chokehold by none other than Masha to Alicia, allowing them to pick up the win. Now, we did see an interview with Gia Miller conducting to Savannah Evans. Now, last week or so, we did see Savannah Evans attack Lee. The reasons behind that is that she wanted to because she felt threatened that someone like Lee was intending to steal her spot. Now, of course, there we'll see that moment where an eye and eye. So basically, she thinks that she point out her message across. Well, we'll just have to wait and see what happens afterwards. So it's not going to be a pleasant thing to watch. So we'll see. Now, our next match is a no disqualification match between former tag partners Wendy Chu and Rosemary. Now, remember, these two ladies were in a match against Spitfire for the TNA Knockouts tag team titles. However, they came up short, and Rosemary speared Wendy Chu. So basically, Rosemary did not take in kindly. But however, a lot of plunder was used in this particular match. It didn't matter if it was chairs or trash cans or whatever. But it was, of course, Rosemary with the cane doing her acid bomb onto her, and just like that, it was over, putting an end of this chapter between her and Wendy Chu, and of course, putting her to a top of a pillow and kissing her forehead. So we'll see what happens with Rosemary from here on out. I wouldn't be surprised if she pursues for the TNA Knockouts world title. Now, Steve Macklin, as you know, he's been dealing with Josh Alexander ever since. Now, remember, their feud dates back until, of course, when Josh Alexander was, well, I don't know if you can still call it Impact Wrestling at the time, but you can call it TNA World Champion. Well, apparently, he never got that opportunity because Josh Alexander had to relinquish the title due to his injury. However, he feels that this is the moment where he's now sending his point across. So that's the idea, and he says that he may have beaten him. He did not beat him in a conventional fight. So he proclaims this is not over. So we'll see what happens. Now the Rascals, as you know, well, they have not been in a very good timing. I mean, with Wesley turning on them, not getting the tag titles and all that. But apparently, they end up going back to the treehouse with their usual shenanigans, but without Wesley. So basically, they, you know what they did after. Yeah. Now, Joe Hendry put out a promo talking about Ryan Menace. Now, remember, there's a lot of things that happened last week. Apparently, there was a miscommunication with Ryan Menace, Nick, and Joe Hendry. So that's the whole thing. But however, he put out a very interesting video where it's like the story of Ryan Menace, the end. So he decides that he's going to challenge him next week. So we will see where that leads us. Now, Mike Santana, as you know, minds his own business, and he has no intentions of tagging with anybody. But when it comes to dealing with the common enemy, that's where he steps up. However, it seems that First Class are determined to recruit him. But you know Mike Santana has no interest of that, so that's one of the main reasons it happened. Now, our next match, we have Heather by Elegance taking on Jody Threat. Now, remember, last week, Danny Luna was in a match against by Ash by Elegance, but thanks to Heather and that stupid weasel, the Stooge, got in the way. Now, you can say lightning strikes again, but not this time because, of course, thank God for Jody, Danny Luna took matters in her own hands and made things. But however, it was, of course, Jody Threat to walk out as the victor. And I'm sure that Ash by Elegance is not happy as how things turn out. But however, we'll see about this. Now, this is our main event, the TNA X Division Championship. Now, of course, this happened right after Moose was interrupting a video promo by Mike Bailey and Trent Seven after the Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. So Mike Bailey decided to put the belt on the line. But here's the best part that I like about this match. It only took 4 spears for Moose to take out Mike Bailey. You wouldn't expect because Mike Bailey, he is a guy who refuses to quit. But however, after the 4th spear, well, his body had enough and Moose won the title, becoming the brand new X Division title. However, I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to cash in option C. Now, those who are new to the channel don't know what I'm referring to. Let me explain. This was a concept that was brought upon by a former TNA wrestler named Austin Aries. Many people, you may have known him. He was one of the most controversial wrestlers in pro wrestling history. Well, he developed this idea that if you win the X Division title, you have the option to cash it in and have a shot of the world title. Now, we've seen that before. Chris Sabin has done it. Josh Alexander has done it. So Frank Kazarian tried to do it, but it didn't do any well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Moose's idea is to ensure he gets another opportunity of the TNA World Title, because that's something I'm sure he would definitely try to pursue. Now let's get back to what happened after the match. After the match, the last thing we saw, Trent Seven, who was there to give some moral supports to Mike Bailey, well, he turned on him. So basically, Speedball Mountain is no more. I wouldn't be surprised that Mike Bailey will definitely try to get revenge for what he did. That is something we'll definitely see possibly next week. So we'll stand by on that. But for now, we end things here with TNA and move on with Ring of Honor. Okay, Ring of Honor. We open up with the infantry taking on, of course, these two guys named Tom Mitchell and Trace Parker. Now, of course, the infantry are now lining themselves part of the Shane Taylor Promotions, as we now see a brand new attitude with them. Um, you probably can guess that this match ended with the infantry. They applied a brand new move with a double foot stomp. Uh, with both Bravo and Dean just grabbing who was it? I think it was Trace on each foot, and bam, and just like that, it was Carly Bravo that picked up the win. Next match, we have the Spanish Announce Project taking on Sean Donovan and LSG. Well, this match ended very well. As you know, we've seen how Angelico has been one of the most incredible submission specialists. Maybe people are hoping that maybe he gets another opportunity of the ROH Pure Championship. Well, that's what happened. He put, of course, LSG in a submission, allowing them to pick up the win. Now, Lee Moriarty, as you know, he is looking forward for another opportunity. As you know, he is the ROH Pure Champion. So that is something we definitely will see down the line. Our next match, we have, of course, Preston Vance versus Sammy Guevara. Of course, Dustin Rhodes, the natural, was by his side. Now, many of you would think that this match, Sammy would definitely pick up the win, but it was a pretty good match. I mean, I know Sammy had to deal with a very strong individual like Preston, but it was Sammy with the GTH that allowed him to pick up the win. However, as soon as the match was over, apparently there's been mind games played by none other than the Righteous. Of course, the Righteous were saying some things regarding about Sammy's wife and daughter, which Dustin Rhodes made clarify last week. Do not mention his family, which is disrespectful. But of course, they want to beat Sammy and Dustin for the ROH World Tag Team title. So we'll see when that comes around. Our next match, we have Lee Johnson and EJ and Duca. As you know, they have been a very strong presence as a tag team. Many people are hoping that they will make their way to the tag team title consistency. They had a contest with Phil Collins and Marino Taglia. Hopefully I pronounce it right. But you can guess this match ended perfectly well with Lee with Johnson and Nduka when Johnson applied a frog splash onto Philly, and just like that, it was over. Now, of course, there was an emergency meeting, of course, conducted. As you know, it seems that after defeating Abaddon, Athena is determined to take this worldwide. So a lot of things have happened. Now, of course, a lot of strain has happened between both Athena and Billy, but it seems Lexi Neer is trying to tell her that she needs to apologize. But I think for Billy, it feels like she needs to apologize to her first, the way she's been treating her ever since she lost the ROH Women's World Television title. So we'll see where that goes. Our next match, we have Diamante versus Rachel Ellering. So, of course, Diamante, as you know, she has not been in a good mood ever since unable to compete, unable to obtain, excuse me, unable to obtain the ROH Women's World Television title. But however, she was able to defeat Rachel Ellering when she applied, like, I don't know if it was the crossroads, but it was effective. However, Red Velvet hasn't forgotten what happened last time, so she came out of nowhere and took matters in her own hands. So it worked out pretty well. Now, we have Layla Hirsch returning, taking on Tina San Antonio. So don't know much about it, but this match ended pretty good with Layla applying a knee strike, and just like that, it was over. Now, we have Aaron Solo versus Tomohiro Ishii. Now, of course, Ishii is one of the toughest SOBs on the planet. So you can guess this match ended in his favor when he applied the Brain Buster and putting him out of his misery. Now, the Righteous were intending to make their next match to be on making their way to the ring for their match. Apparently, after what happened last time when they ambushed Sammy and Dustin Rhodes, well, they returned the favor, so they should have seen that one coming, but they didn't. It took a lot of referees and people to try to separate them. Look, the Righteous had this one coming, okay? They disrespected Sammy and his wife, and Dustin didn't take that too kindly when it comes to talking to people's families. However, the Righteous think they can get away with it, but of course, Dustin and Sammy, being the sons of Texas, they're not going to let guys like them try to play games with them. So we'll see where that leads. Now, we have Nick Wayne versus Ryan Clancy, and of course, his mama was there, and along with that moron, Kip Sabian was there too. You can guess that Kip Sabian tried to involve, and then he applied the Wayne's World onto, of course, onto Ryan Clancy winning the match. Now, once again, of course, apparently Shane Taylor's promotions are sending a message to the locker room, and they attacked 4 guys in the back, basically sending their message loud and clear. So we'll see where that goes. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Josh Woods taking on AR Fox. Now, of course, that weasel, Smart Mark Sterling, or should I call him Weasel Sterling, keeps getting involved. But however, it did not do any well, but it was AR Fox who walked out as the winner. But however, he was viciously attacked by Nick Wayne. Now remember, not too long, about a year or two ago, it was AR Fox and Swerve Strickland that attacked Nick Wayne in the back of his home. So it's more of an eye for an eye. But sooner or later, of course, AR Fox will return a favor. So we'll get to that at some point. So I think we are done now with Ring of Honor. Let's move on with the last and final thing we're going to do, news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So let's begin with, of course, what we talked about. As you know, we saw AEW versus NXT. Prediction has been set as I thought. NXT walked away with the most views with 619,000 views with a demo of 0.17. And of course, AEW with 523,000. So don't know about the demo rating on that, but it's clear that, of course, we all can agree that NXT walked away with the win. But sooner or later, of course, AEW will turn this around at some point. We just don't know when or where, but we'll stay close to that. Now for some upcoming events. As you know, on the 29th, we have the Bloodsport event taking place in Jersey City. They announced that, of course, we're going to have a showdown between 2 tag partners. We're talking about our current GCW tag team champions, Dominic Garrini and Kevin Coos. So these 2 are going to go head to head. It's going to be an ultimate showdown. So don't miss it, boys and girls. And then finally, House of Glory have their upcoming event, Live for the Moment, taking place on December 20th. The House of Glory Women's Championship will be defended. Megan Bayne, our current champion, defends it against Alley Catch. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Now for our developments. Lance Anou'i, you may know him as a member of the Anou'i family. Fightful Select reports that he is now officially signed with WWE, and of course, speculation now we can say he might be heading his way to join the the bloodline. So that is something we could definitely see. Now, many of you know this. Tiffany Stratton is in a relationship with Ludwig, who is one of Gunther's pals. Apparently, she is open in. Well, never mind. This is something else. Tiffany Stratton actually said something of an idea she opened up. I don't know if she got this from AEW or something just clicked on her head about this. She wants to have a women's NX and Netflix title. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, it feels like they're trying to copy AEW in some capacity. I mean, we have the TNT title and the TBS. That is something we know, but we'll see. Now for our last development here. Many of you know this, that WWE have certain wrestlers that they want to keep under their, you know, visual to be part of the WWE ID. Three names have been announced from what promotions they were scouted from. We have Cappuccino Jones, who was scouted from This Is Wrestling. Bryce Donovan from Wrestling Open, and Zeta Steel was scouted from Combat Zone Wrestling. Now, I don't know if that's true because, as you all know, Zeta Steel uh, eventually was in MARIGOLD, and of course, MARIGOLD has a somewhat of a starting up a relationship with WWE, which is common. I don't know if they scouted her from there, but I hardly doubt they scouted her from Combat Zone Wrestling. So we'll see. But those are the names. But I do know more names will be announced at some point. So that's pretty much it. What we have for our news updates. So let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we have NXT at never mind, hold on, NXT Level Up and AEW Rampage. But we do have, of course, New Japan Fighting Spirit Unleashed. So we'll be doing that soon enough. I don't think I'm going to be doing anything else after that, but I'm behind on certain events. Hopefully, I can catch up by the time we get to, we'll see. So we'll get to there. But for now, NXT Level Up and AEW Rampage. But until then, I will see you guys on the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day. Bang.